What you allow into your life shapes who you become. Uninvited opinions, misplaced expectations, or the endless chase for validation. These things may seem small, but they quietly steal your peace, redirect your purpose, and hold you back from the life you're meant to live. In this video, we'll uncover the hidden traps that drain your energy and show you how mastering the art of saying no opens the door to clarity and inner freedom. Stick with us until the end. Sometimes the most powerful insights come last. Subscribe, share your thoughts, and tell us which idea resonates with you most. Ready to dive in? Number 1. Unsolicited opinions. What harm could a simple comment do? It's a question I used to ask myself, until one day, a seemingly harmless conversation shifted my perspective. I was sitting at a coffee shop, enjoying a rare, quiet morning. With my laptop open, I was outlining ideas for a project I'd been passionate about for months. Just as I was getting into the flow, a casual acquaintance, a friend of a friend, spotted me, sat down uninvited, and asked what I was working on. I explained briefly, expecting polite interest. Instead, he chuckled and said, "Do people even care about that stuff anymore?" My enthusiasm fizzled on the spot, replaced by an uneasy feeling of self-doubt. Unsolicited opinions have a way of slipping into our minds like a splinter, small, seemingly insignificant, but capable of causing discomfort long after they enter. A Stoic principle comes to mind here. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that while we cannot control what others say, we can control whether we allow those words to take root in our minds. Think about how often unsolicited opinions sneak into your daily life. Maybe a colleague casually critiques your lunch choices at the office, or a neighbor offers an uninvited suggestion about your home decor. These remarks, though trivial on the surface, are like seeds scattered carelessly across your mental garden. Left unchecked, they sprout into self-doubt, leaving you questioning decisions that once felt clear. Here's the real problem. The more we entertain these opinions, the more they distort our sense of self. We start measuring our worth through other people's judgments, even when those people have no insight into our personal journey. Epictetus taught, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This is where your control lies, not in silencing others, but in refining how you receive and filter their words. I've learned the hard way that unsolicited opinions are like junk mail. They demand your attention without offering any real value. The key is developing what I like to call mental filters. The next time someone offers advice you didn't ask for, pause and ask yourself, did I invite this opinion? Does it come from someone whose life reflects the wisdom I seek? If the answer is no, smile, acknowledge their input, and let it go, just as easily as you'd toss junk mail into the recycling bin. This isn't about arrogance or closing yourself off from the world. Sometimes unasked for advice holds unexpected gems. But discerning the difference between gold and gravel requires practice. Just as a craftsman knows which tools to trust, you must learn which voices to listen to. Surround yourself with people who uplift your journey, not derail it with doubt. Applying Stoicism here isn't complicated. It's about being intentional. When someone shares an unsolicited opinion, respond thoughtfully but don't engage emotionally. A simple, "Thanks for sharing," works wonders. You acknowledge their effort without giving their words power over you. Think of it like surfing. The waves will come, but you decide which ones you'll ride and which ones you'll let pass under your board. Remember, your mind is your most valuable asset. Treat it like a garden. Tend to it carefully, planting only what nurtures your growth. When an uninvited comment lands in your soil, don't hesitate to pull it out by the roots before it takes hold. Over time, you'll build the habit of wise listening, where only the most meaningful advice finds a place in your heart. The next time someone offers you an opinion you didn't ask for, take a breath. Ask yourself, is this helping me, or is it noise? Your ability to filter out the unnecessary will shape the clarity of your thoughts and the strength of your actions. And remember, the fewer opinions you carry that don't serve you, the lighter and freer your journey becomes. So, next time a well-meaning friend, family member, or colleague offers advice you didn't ask for, smile, thank them, and let it go, like leaves drifting gently down a stream. The real wisdom lies not in what others say, but in your ability to stay rooted in your values, unaffected by the currents around you. Number 2, others' expectations. I once heard a story that perfectly captures the weight of living under others' expectations. A friend had spent years pursuing a corporate job, not because it was what he wanted, but because it was what his parents expected. They had imagined him in a stable career, rising through the ranks and enjoying the prestige of a secure title. Every promotion, though, felt heavier, not lighter. He confessed that with every step forward in his parents' dream, he felt like he was moving further away from his own. It wasn't until his mental health began to suffer that he stopped to ask himself, whose life am I really living? Stoicism teaches us that we must discern between what lies within our control and what does not. Epictetus reminds us that we can't control the expectations others place on us, but we do control how we respond. Expectations from others, whether from family, friends, or society, are like invisible chains, binding us to paths we might never choose on our own. Left unchecked, they steal our sense of authenticity, leading to resentment and eventually burnout. In practical terms, it's like wearing shoes that don't fit. Every step becomes a painful reminder that you're not walking your own path. At first, it might seem manageable, but over time, the discomfort turns into a burden that weighs heavily on your mind and spirit. The Stoic solution? Recognize that while others may wish the best for us, their dreams are not ours to fulfill. Start by asking yourself, does this expectation align with my own values and goals? If it doesn't, it's time to set boundaries, gracefully but firmly. When a well-meaning relative pressures you into taking a certain career path, thank them for their concern, but clarify your own intentions. I appreciate your advice, but I've decided to pursue something that feels right for me. The key is learning to navigate expectations with kindness. Rejection doesn't have to come with anger or defiance. It can be a quiet but resolute affirmation of your own purpose. Just as a sculptor carves away excess stone to reveal the masterpiece within, you must chip away the expectations that do not belong to you. Only then will you uncover the life you are meant to live. Remember, living for others' expectations is like painting with someone else's palette. The colors may look beautiful to them, but the picture will never feel like your own. So, the next time you feel the pressure to conform, take a breath, step back, and ask, what do I want my life to look like? Number 3, hidden agenda favors. What is a favor bestowed with expectation, but a chain disguised as kindness? Seneca. A friend of mine, James, once found himself caught in a tangled web woven by favors that seemed at first harmless and generous. He was new to the city and met an acquaintance, Greg, who appeared eager to help. Greg offered to introduce him to key people in his field and even insisted on helping him find an apartment. At first, James was grateful, thinking he had found a rare friend in this unfamiliar place. But over time, these favors began to feel less like gifts and more like obligations. Greg's requests for small returns started piling up, like expecting James to accompany him to events he didn't want to attend, or subtly pressuring him to promote his work on social media. James realized that every favor came with invisible strings attached, tugging tighter each time he tried to say no. Seneca warned us against such generosity with strings. A benefit is not well bestowed if it imposes a burden upon the receiver. This is the essence of hidden agenda favors. They appear as gifts, but in reality, they entangle you in unspoken debts. The favor becomes a subtle form of control, a way to make you feel beholden to someone else's agenda. This experience taught James an invaluable lesson about boundaries. He realized that not all help is selfless, and that sometimes saying no is the most respectful thing you can do. Not just for yourself, but for the other person too. Gratitude without obligation became his guiding principle. He learned to discern between genuine help and manipulative favors by asking himself 2 questions. If I never return this favor, will the relationship change? And is this favor truly in line with my values? The Stoics remind us that our peace lies in recognizing what is ours to control. Favors, no matter how generous, should never dictate our freedom to choose. As Marcus Aurelius put it, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Just because someone offers assistance does not mean you are obligated to shape your actions around their expectations. Here's a practical tip. The next time someone offers a favor, pause and reflect. If you sense an unspoken expectation, respond kindly but firmly. Thank you for the offer, but I'll handle it on my own. This simple act preserves your autonomy and sets a boundary without severing the relationship. Remember, a favor that costs your peace is too expensive. So take charge of your mental space like a gatekeeper at the entrance of a garden. Not every act of kindness needs a key to your life. The most generous gift you can offer in return for manipulative favors is a polite but resolute no. Number 4. Constant negativity. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Marcus Aurelius. I remember having a colleague named John who always carried a storm cloud with him, raining on every conversation. No matter what topic came up, whether it was someone's new project, an upcoming vacation, or even a simple meal, he'd find a way to criticize or complain. That trip sounds great, but you know flights are going to be delayed, he'd say, or this project will just end up being a waste of time like the last one. At first, I brushed it off as his personality. But over time, I realized something. Spending too much time around John was beginning to dim my own enthusiasm. His negativity was contagious, and I found myself starting to dread the very things I had once been excited about. Stoicism teaches us that we have control over how we respond to external events and other people's emotions. As Epictetus said, it is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them. Constant negativity, whether from others or ourselves, is like poison slowly seeping into the mind. If left unchecked, it can warp our perception, making everything appear grayer, heavier, and more burdensome than it really is. In John's case, I learned that the best way to counter his negativity wasn't to argue or avoid him altogether, but to set clear boundaries for both my time and my thoughts. When a conversation began to spiral into complaints, I'd politely steer it back towards something constructive. I hear you, but what's one good thing that came out of this? If that didn't work, I made it a habit to mentally detach, acknowledging his words but refusing to let them shape my outlook. Negativity, like a weed, can overrun your mental garden if you're not vigilant. The solution isn't to shut out the world, but to cultivate your own mental space carefully. Start by surrounding yourself with people who uplift rather than drain you. When negative thoughts creep in, whether your own or someone else's, pause and ask, is this thought serving me? If not, let it pass, like a cloud drifting across the sky. Marcus Aurelius's metaphor is apt. Your mind becomes dyed with the thoughts you allow in. To keep your mental canvas vibrant, be intentional about what you allow to leave a mark. Recognize negativity when it arises, set boundaries where needed, and fill your inner dialogue with gratitude and productive thinking. Over time, you'll find that the world feels lighter, not because it has changed, but because you have. Number 5. Seeking validation. If you are disturbed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. Marcus Aurelius. A friend of mine, Sarah, was once consumed by the need for approval on social media. Every post, from vacation photos to thoughtful reflections, became an opportunity to gather likes, shares, and comments. I remember her checking her phone every few minutes after a post went live. The moment she got a flood of likes, she'd feel elated. But when engagement was low, her mood would shift. She'd second-guess her choices, wondering if she wasn't interesting enough or if she'd said the wrong thing. Sarah's experience mirrors a truth that many of us encounter in some form: the endless chase for external validation. It's like filling a bucket with water, only to discover there's a hole at the bottom. No matter how much you pour in, it's never enough. The Stoics understood this danger well. Marcus Aurelius's insight reminds us that peace of mind can never be found in the opinions of others, but only in our judgment of those opinions. The problem with seeking validation is that it puts your self-worth in the hands of others, an inherently unstable place to leave it. We start to measure ourselves by metrics we can't control: how many people approved, liked, or commented. But no amount of external praise can provide lasting fulfillment. Stoicism encourages us to look inward and focus on the things that truly matter: our actions, our values, and our principles. The next time you find yourself craving approval, whether from a boss, a friend, or an audience, pause. Ask yourself, why am I doing this? Am I acting in accordance with my values, or am I chasing applause? The Stoic approach is simple yet powerful. Act well for its own sake, not for the recognition it may or may not bring. Here's a practical exercise. Each day, do one thing without telling anyone. Whether it's helping a stranger, pursuing a personal goal, or simply taking time to reflect, keep it to yourself. This practice builds the habit of self-validation, teaching you that the worth of an action lies not in others knowing about it, but in your integrity while doing it. Remember, external validation is like chasing shadows, always just out of reach. But when you act from a place of inner conviction, grounded in your own principles, you create a foundation no one can take away from you. As Seneca put it, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." The richest life is the one that requires no applause. Number 6. Unfair comparisons. Imagine yourself rowing a boat across a wide, open lake. At first, you're focused on your strokes, each pull steady, each movement purposeful. But then, out of the corner of your eye, you notice another boat cutting through the water at a faster pace. Suddenly, your own rhythm falters. The same strokes that once felt powerful now seem sluggish. You pull harder, trying to match their speed, but the harder you try, the more exhausted you become. The joy of the journey fades, replaced by frustration that you're not moving fast enough. This is the nature of unfair comparisons. It shifts your focus from your own progress to someone else's race. The irony is, those other boats aren't on your course. They may be heading toward a different destination, with different winds and currents guiding them. Stoicism reminds us that these external circumstances are beyond our control. If you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your own judgment about it. Marcus Aurelius. The key to freedom lies in returning to your own path. In life, as in rowing, it's the inner effort, our steady strokes and commitment to the task that leads to fulfillment. Comparing yourself to others only steals the joy from the journey and distracts you from your own goals. So how do you stay focused on your personal course? First, practice gratitude for where you are today. Reflect on the progress you've made, no matter how small. Next, set specific, achievable goals that align with your values, not the expectations of others. When the temptation to compare arises, remind yourself, I am not racing anyone else's boat. I am rowing my own, at my own pace, toward my own destination. In this way, you become like a craftsman focused on the precision of his own work, not on the noise from the neighboring workshop. True satisfaction comes not from outpacing others, but from knowing you've given your best effort. Remember, comparison is the thief of joy. Don't let it distract you from the beauty of your own path. Number 7. Unwanted advice. Unsolicited advice often comes from well-meaning individuals, yet its impact can feel anything but helpful. Imagine you've just started a new workout routine, and as you're mid-set at the gym, a stranger walks over, offering tips on how you should lift weights. You didn't ask for help, but suddenly your flow is interrupted, and you begin doubting your technique. Was everything you'd been doing wrong all along? This kind of unrequested counsel, though seemingly harmless, often disrupts more than it helps, leaving the receiver frustrated and uncertain about their choices. Stoicism teaches us that control lies not in what others say, but in how we respond to it. Marcus Aurelius advises us to approach these moments with tolerance toward others and rigor with ourselves. Just because advice is given doesn't mean we must adopt or even entertain it. Recognize that some people offer advice as a reflection of their experiences, not necessarily with insight into your journey. The challenge lies in setting healthy boundaries. If you sense that someone's advice carries more personal agenda than helpful intention, a kind but firm response works best. I appreciate your input, but I prefer to figure this out on my own. This approach acknowledges their effort while maintaining your autonomy. Similarly, redirecting the conversation toward the person offering advice. Why do you think that approach worked for you? Can shift the focus away from yourself without causing friction. Unwanted advice can feel like a subtle intrusion, much like weeds growing in a carefully cultivated garden. If left unaddressed, it disrupts the natural growth of your decisions and undermines your self-trust. Therefore, it's essential to prune these moments as they arise, either by tactfully disengaging or simply choosing not to take the advice to heart. As Epictetus reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Next time you find yourself on the receiving end of unsolicited advice, pause. Reflect on whether it aligns with your goals, and if it doesn't, let it go, like a passing breeze that ruffles the leaves without altering the tree. The key is to remain grounded in your path, knowing that only you can decide what belongs in your personal journey. Number 8. Quick fix temptations. No great thing is created suddenly. Epictetus. A friend of mine, Sam, once decided to lose weight after years of struggling with unhealthy habits. Determined to change his life, he jumped headfirst into fad diets that promised rapid results. He cut out entire food groups overnight and started an extreme workout plan, convinced that he could fast-track his way to fitness. At first it worked. The scale dropped and the compliments poured in. But as the weeks went by, his energy waned, cravings surged, and injuries piled up. Within months, he was back to square one, frustrated, exhausted, and further from his goal than when he started. This is the problem with quick fixes. They offer the illusion of progress, but crumble under the weight of reality. Stoicism teaches us that real change is gradual and requires patience. As Epictetus reminds us, true achievements come through consistent effort, not shortcuts. Quick fixes are like trying to build a house with faulty bricks. It may stand for a moment, but it's destined to collapse. The allure of instant results lies in our desire to avoid discomfort. It's tempting to believe that there's a hack or a secret formula that will bypass the hard work. But in reality, every worthwhile achievement, whether in health, relationships, or personal growth, requires persistence. There's no substitute for the daily discipline of small actions that accumulate over time. Here's a practical way to avoid the trap of quick fixes. Focus on the process, not the outcome. If your goal is to get fit, commit to showing up the gym 3 times a week, regardless of results. If you want to write a book, aim to write 500 words a day instead of obsessing over the final product. These small, consistent steps, like drops of water filling a jar, create sustainable progress. The Stoics understood that the path to mastery is long but rewarding. Instead of seeking shortcuts, embrace the journey and the lessons that come with it. Each step forward, no matter how small, is a victory in itself. Remember, quick fixes may promise satisfaction, but it's the steady climb that brings lasting fulfillment. Number 9. False guilt. If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth, by which no one was ever truly harmed. A friend of mine, Emma, once found herself burdened by a heavy, misplaced guilt. Her coworker had missed a deadline on a shared project, and though the error wasn't hers, Emma felt responsible. If only I had followed up sooner, she thought. Her coworker apologized, but subtly suggested Emma could have done more to help, reinforcing her belief that the blame lay partly with her. For days, Emma carried that guilt around like a weight she couldn't shake, questioning if she had failed as a team player. False guilt operates like a shadow, constantly present, even though it has no real substance. It creeps into our minds, convincing us that we are responsible for things beyond our control. Stoicism offers a way out of this mental trap. It is not things that disturb us, but our judgment about things. Epictetus reminds us. When we allow guilt over matters we couldn't control, we're choosing to judge ourselves unfairly and burdening our peace of mind unnecessarily. The key to escaping false guilt is clarity. Ask yourself, was this truly within my control? Did I act in accordance with my values? If the answer is no, then the guilt is undeserved and must be released. Like weeds in a garden, false guilt can choke your growth if not identified and removed. Here's a practical exercise. When guilt arises, write down what caused it. Next, divide the page into 2 columns, what was within your control and what wasn't. This simple act of reflection can help separate genuine accountability from misplaced guilt. In Emma's case, she realized that while she could have followed up with her coworker, the missed deadline wasn't her failure to bear. From then on, she practiced setting clearer boundaries, offering help when appropriate, but refusing to carry the burden for others' actions. False guilt is an emotional fog, blurring the line between what's ours to carry and what's not. The Stoic way teaches us to let go of what we cannot control and focus on living with integrity. As Marcus Aurelius said, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Don't let misplaced guilt hold you back. Release it and move forward with clarity and purpose. Your peace, growth, and sense of purpose are shaped by what you allow into your life. Throughout this journey, we've uncovered how the art of rejecting what doesn't serve you, whether unsolicited opinions, comparisons, or false guilt, can open space for clarity, confidence, and personal fulfillment. Saying no isn't about shutting people out. It's about prioritizing what truly matters and nurturing the best version of yourself. Every time you reject negativity, toxic obligations, or unnecessary distractions, you're saying yes to a more meaningful life. It's not always easy, but practicing wise rejection leads to freedom. Freedom from unnecessary burdens and expectations that no longer belong to you. What's the next step? Share your thoughts in the comments. What resonated most with you? Which habit or mindset are you ready to leave behind? I'd love to hear from you. If you found value in this video, consider supporting the channel by liking, sharing it with a friend, and subscribing. Don't forget to click the bell icon to stay connected with future content. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Until next time, stay grounded, stay intentional, and keep growing. A big hug, and I'll see you in the next video.